afternoon, everybody. Or should I say, Dia with Accordia. There's at least one person in this audience who is responding to my Irish greeting with Dia Ismiragwich. And I start Os Gaeilge to introduce the country of my birth. That's Ireland. Ireland is a very beautiful country. It's very green. It's known to have 40 shades of it in there. But underneath that green, there's a darker picture. Ireland's biodiversity is in crisis. Common species like the corn bunting have gone extinct. Culturally significant species like the corncrake and the curlew are teetering on the brink. Ireland's water and land habitats are all imperiled. But it's not just Ireland. Across the world, since I was born, we have lost 73% of our biodiversity. In the Caribbean, it's 90%. The KPI for the planet, which is indicated here, is red flags all over the place. This loss of biodiversity is driven by human activity. It's driven by habitat loss, habitat fragmentation. Now, you might be thinking, with everything else going on in the world, why do I care? And you might be right. The journalist and thought leader George Monbiot writes in The Guardian years ago. He says, "The loss of species does not impact me in a material way, any more than the razing of the Prado would deprive me of food or shelter." But he goes deeper than that. He goes on to say that the global collapse of biodiversity hurts almost beyond endurance. The sense that the world is greying, its wealth of colour and surprise and wonder is fading. It's so painful I can scarcely bear to write about it. The fact that the world is greying is part of humans' activity, as I said. Habitat loss, habitat fragmentation, habitat destruction. But I want to reframe loss. No species is stupid enough to lose their habitat. They are dispossessed. And this dispossession also impacts us. It impacts our psyche. It impacts our souls. Now, you might be thinking, this is a business conference. Why does the diminution of nature matter in the face of modern progress? It does if you consider the economics of nature. According to PwC, the entire world's GDP is dependent on nature, with 55% heavily dependent, which is exposed to a $58 trillion collapse in the economy should nature continue to collapse. A collapse in ecosystem services could result in a decline of GDP by 2.7 trillion. Now think about ecosystem services. These are the best value for money out there. A street tree, an urban street tree, it cools the neighbourhoods, it provides shade, it provides biodiversity uplift, it provides social benefits. And get this, a street tree is the only piece of urban infrastructure that continues to appreciate the longer it's in the ground. Its value grows the older that it gets. And nature also provides us with other things. Biomimicry is a big issue, it's a trending topic. But remember, without nature, there is no bio to mimic. And also, nature provides humanity with health benefits. The willow tree has provided us with aspirin. The Pacific yew provides us with Taxol, a cancer-treating drug. And this crazy guy, the Gila monster, has created an entirely new class of medicines. The Gila monster lives without food for a long period of time. It fasts for vast months at a time. And scientists have isolated the hormone that allows the Gila monster to fast and has created it into semaglutide drugs, of which we know Ozempic, which treats diabetes and obesity. But according to medical specialists, these drugs could go on to protect neurons, to reduce inflammation, and promote survival of brain cells. All from a little lizard lives on the New Mexico border. This is my favorite, though. This is the horseshoe crab. The horseshoe crab has blood that is incredibly incredibly sensitive to toxins in its blood. And it is used by the pharmaceutical industry to test every implant, every vaccine known to man. The pharmaceutical industry takes the crabs out and bleeds them for their blood to use them on testing. But the other species that depends on horseshoe crabs are the shorebirds. These are red knots. They're the same weight as a pack of playing cards. And the red knots overwinter in South America. When the summer is starting up in the northern hemisphere, the red knots fly north, stopping in the Delaware Bay before continuing to the Arctic where they breed. These birds fly a round trip of 20,000 miles per year, one of the longest migrations on the planet. They depend on the horseshoe crab. When they arrive in the Delaware Bay to feed and to get their weight back to fly to the Arctic, they really depend on the eggs of the horseshoe crab because the horseshoe crab eggs are small, packed in protein, and easy to digest. The first full moon in May, the horseshoe crabs climb up to the top of the beach, lay their eggs just at the same time as the shorebirds and the red knots are coming to eat them. So the red knots, the shorebirds, loggerhead turtles, other species depend on the horseshoe crab, but so does the pharmaceutical industry. Pharmaceutical industry bleeds about 500,000 crabs per year. The loss of crabs is 30%. For the pharmaceutical industry, its biggest dependency is its biggest impact, which is its biggest risk. So what can we do? Well, luckily, something has been done by Jay Bolden, a biologist at Eli Lilly, where he worked to create a synthetic to the horseshoe crab blood, a synthetic that is more cost-effective and more effective than the blood is. So he has created, through his innovation, a reduced harvest of horseshoe crabs, which leads to increased eggs for shorebirds, which is increasing the survival of the species and also de-risking an entire industry. And that has happened because of momentum. It has happened because of momentum across a number of angles. Scientists have been studying for 50 years to provide data to advocates who have been pushing policies, to politicians who have been implementing policies, to corporations who have been innovating. And when there was resistance to the synthetic alternative, the finance through Nature Action 100 got involved, showing where the risk was in the industry. It shows that value creation for and by nature is not a zero-sum game. Now, in closing, I want to mention that the Earth has lost a fabulous ambassador recently with the death of Jane Goodall. Jane Goodall, I just want to use this stage for a moment to amplify her message. If she was here today, she would say to you, you can take action for the planet in whatever way you can, as a scientist, as an advocate, as a financier, as a corporation. You can help what remains of the beauty, color, sound, vibrancy, value, and plain weirdness of our planet. You can help protect and restore that. Because as Jane Goodall says, hope is a thing that requires action, and for all of us, action is what's going to deliver value for both planet, nature, and economy. Thank you very much.